Hello and welcome to this James Bike Guy, where today we're taking a look at a fast and comfortable road bike from Trek. This is the Trek Domane SL7 Gen 4 version. So in this video, we're going to go into the features and designs of this bike. We'll talk about who and what it's all about, the improvements they've made for the Gen 4 version, and then of course, we'll finish it off with exactly what it weighs. So stick around and let's check out the Gen 4 Trek Domane SL7. Beginning in the range of the Trek Domane, what the Domane is in Trek's lineup, it's their endurance road bike. And by endurance road bike, this bike is in design for somebody who either wants a more comfortable position when they go out on a ride, or a rider who's extending their rides, taking an all-day effort, and wanting a bike that helps keep them as fresh and capable as they can over that long duration. It's a common misconception that you would buy, say, a performance race bike like the Trek Domane, which factors in some climbing and aero capabilities, as your one bike if you're a performance rider. But in fact, there's times where you would want an endurance bike like this as well, because with an endurance bike, you'll get something that's going to make it a little easier on every mile for your body, and that in change will allow you to be fresher and stronger throughout the ride. And in fact, you see that even on the Pro Peloton, where in some races they'll use an endurance bike, and other races they use that performance style bike. And it's all put together to make sure that you can choose the right bike for the job. Now, this one being a Domane SL means that it's the 500 series OCLV carbon fiber, which 500 series OCLV is their mid-level frame quality. They do make a Domane in aluminum, and they make the race bike, or the highest performance version of the Domane, in an 800 series Domane SLR. And with an SL for the Gen 4 version of the bike, it has the same frame features, geometry as what you get with the SLR, but instead saving quite a bit of money and adding just a touch of weight over that SLR version. And the geometry piece that makes this bike different than, say, that Domane we were talking about before is going to be in your body position. So with a Domane, along with the comfort, you're going to have a much more upright and stable position. So the head tube of the bike is going to be more upright than, say, what you would get on a performance road bike like the Domane. The wheelbase, so from axle to axle, is going to be a bit longer, and the bottom bracket is going to be a little bit lower. So that longer wheelbase is going to add stability. Lower bottom bracket is both going to add stability and increase the handlebar position in relation to where your legs are, so creating a little more upright position, as well as that taller front end matches up with that as well. And to make the Gen 4 version even more capable than the prior one before, they have upgraded their ISOSpeed technology in the back. And what ISOSpeed is it decouples the seat tube and seat post from the top tube and the seat stay via a pretty neat bearing function back here. So what I've just pulled off is the cover to that ISOSpeed technology. Basically, you see right in there, that's where your clamp is. It sends a bolt forward to wedge against your seat post. And then you've got this pivot right there, which effectively allows the seat post to flex backwards when you hit a bump, smoothing out big hits and definitely taking a little bit of a touch off of those higher frequency hits as well. And then you can just clip that cover right back on, gives a nice slick look to the bike. And the next thing that they've added is camtail style shaping to the tubing. So what a camtail is, it's effectively an airfoil that has a truncated or flat edge. And in fact, you can see this best on the seat post. So seat post is aero profile towards the front, flat on the back. And in practice, you're seeing camtail shapes all over the road, because that's what a lot of hybrids, such as your Toyota Prius, use to be able to be more efficient, because that shape allows it to act like a much larger airfoil than it is and improve efficiency. And that's effectively what Trek was trying to do with this Domane, is create a bike that has more aerodynamic performance than the version before. Of course, not being a true aero bike, but including features such as that truncated airfoil to help do so. And then they also include things like this internally cable routed front end, which makes for a much more sleek, much more aerodynamic setup as well. And something I like about it is, although it is internal cable routing through the headset, your bar setup is all just the standard external round style. And for a stem, of course, to keep it as slick as possible, using Bontrager stem is ideal, but you can swap that out for a traditional 1.125" style steer tube setup. Going down through the front to the steer tube, you get to the OCLV carbon fiber fork, also Aero bladed, and featuring room for up to 38mm tires. Now the bike is coming stock with 32mm tires, but the front and the rear can fit those 38s to give even more flexibility and capability, because you could take this, say, on a light gravel trail, do a little bit of gravel biking, or just run a wider tire for additional comfort, or narrow down if you're wanting a little bit of extra speed. For capabilities, we also have a mount up on your top tube, of course, water bottle mounts both on the seat tube and the down tube. And on the down tube, lift this lever up, and that's going to reveal a spot for some internal frame storage. Now, the neat thing with this frame storage, it does, of course, come with its own bits bag, they call this, a nice shaped bag to be able to fit in, but you've got tons of room in there, as well as it gives you a bit better access to both your cable routing, and if we sneak down in there, you can see that's where the battery is housed for the electronic drivetrain on this bike. So let's go ahead and slide our bits bag right back into place. That just pops in, and then your cover, which is pretty neat because it has a spot to be able to put the Bontrager bits multi-tool right in it, but that can slide into place and then just locks down super simple. Now, I said this had an electronic drivetrain, and that's because on the SL7, it runs Shimano's Ultegra Di2 drivetrain. So this is an electronic shifting 12-speed drivetrain with a super wide 11 to 34 tooth rear cassette. And that cassette is going to give you plenty of gear range for whatever type of riding you might want to do. And up front, they're running a 50 to 34 tooth compact style chainring setup. So that gives this bike a 1-to-1 gear ratio out back, giving you plenty of climbing gear. And up front, the shifting is going to be done via these electronic and hydraulic Shimano Ultegra shifters. So on the outside, we've got 2 buttons. The larger panel puts you to an easier gear out back. Inside panel, or button I should say, puts you to harder gear. And then you can squeeze the lever, which is going to then put braking pressure on 160mm rotors via 2-piston Shimano hydraulic calipers. As well as this being a SL7, it does mean that you get some aerodynamic carbon wheels with some Aeolus Pro 37 front and rear wheels. So it's a 37mm deep wheel, does have a wider tubeless ready channel, and the bike does come stock with these Bontrager R3s in the 700 by 32mm width, tubeless as well. So that puts together a pretty neat package for an endurance road bike, especially with that ISO speed out back that's going to improve comfort during the ride. And Trek claims that even though they've added some aerodynamic profiling, upgraded that ISO speed, which is where they say they've simplified and saved a fair bit of weight, it also means that they believe that they've taken out about 300 grams in both the SLR and the SL level frame. And that's something that is a pretty substantial savings. You know, that's 3/4 of a pound, and great that they were able to pull the weight out of both the lower level frame and the higher level frame. So now that we've gone ahead and taken a look at this Trek Domane SL7 Gen 4, let's find out exactly what it weighs. The actual weight of the Trek Domane SL7 Gen 4 in a size 54 comes in and weighs 18.46 pounds. Thanks for joining me to check out the Trek Domane SL7 Gen 4. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're at it, be sure to hit subscribe and definitely browse the channel to see more videos like this to check out as well.